In the heart of conflict, where chaos reigns and emotions flare, the ultimate weapon is not a sword, but an unshakable mind. This was the core belief of Miyamoto Musashi, Japan's most legendary swordsman. His life was a testament to the power of inner calm, a state he called hijoshin, the ordinary, everyday mind. But how did he maintain this profound composure while facing death in over 60 duels? And more importantly, how can we, living in a world of constant stress and disagreement, harness this ancient wisdom? Born in 1584, Musashi lived during a tumultuous period of Japanese history. From a young age, he was a ronin, a masterless samurai, wandering the country and honing his skills through life-or-death combat. His first duel, at the age of 13, was against a seasoned samurai whom he defeated. This victory was not just a result of physical prowess, but of a mindset he cultivated his entire life. He understood that, in a duel, the first to lose their composure is the first to fall. Fear, anger, and doubt are internal enemies far more dangerous than any external foe. Musashi wrote about his philosophy in the Book of Five Rings, a text that has transcended swordsmanship to become a guide for strategists, business leaders, and anyone seeking mastery over their own mind. He taught that true strength lies in a state of no mind, or this isn't about emptying your mind, but freeing it from the clutter of distracting thoughts and emotions. It's about achieving a state of fluid awareness where you can react to situations spontaneously and intuitively without hesitation. When your mind is calm, you perceive reality as it is, not as your fears or biases distort it. This clarity allows you to see your opponent's weaknesses and your own opportunities. One of Musashi's key principles was to know your enemy, but first know yourself. He spent countless hours in solitary training and meditation, not just practicing sword techniques, but observing the workings of his own mind. He learned to recognize the subtle triggers of anger, the first whispers of fear, and the seductive pull of arrogance. By understanding his internal landscape, he could prevent these emotions from taking control. He practiced detaching himself from the outcome of a duel. He didn't fight to win or to avoid losing. He fought simply to fight, to execute his strategy with perfect precision. This detachment is the antidote to the pressure that cripples so many. So, how do we apply this in our modern lives? Our conflicts may not involve swords, but they are battles nonetheless. Tense negotiation at work, a heated argument with a loved one, or the internal struggle with anxiety. The first step is to practice awareness. Just as Musashi observed his own mind, we can observe our reactions. When you feel anger rising during a disagreement, notice it. Acknowledge the physical sensations, the tightening in your chest, the heat in your face. Don't judge it or try to suppress it. Simply observe it. This simple act of observation creates a space between the stimulus and your response. In that space lies your power to choose a calm, deliberate action instead of a knee-jerk reaction. Another principle is to embrace the void, as Musashi called it. For him, the void represented the unknown, the unpredictable nature of combat and life. Instead of fearing it, he learned to be comfortable in it. In our lives, the void is uncertainty. We often try to control every outcome, which leads to immense stress when things don't go according to plan. To apply Musashi's wisdom, we must practice accepting uncertainty. During a difficult conversation, you don't know what the other person will say or do. Instead of preparing a rigid script of responses, focus on being present and listening. By remaining open and adaptable, you can respond more effectively to whatever arises, just as Musashi would adapt his strategy in the middle of a duel. Musashi also emphasized the importance of rhythm. He wrote, "There is a rhythm in everything." In a fight, he would disrupt his opponent's rhythm while maintaining his own. In our conflicts, emotions have a rhythm. Anger often escalates in a predictable pattern. You can break this rhythm by taking a strategic pause. If an argument is getting heated, suggest taking a 5-minute break. This simple act can completely reset the emotional tempo of the interaction. It allows both parties to step back from the brink, breathe, and regain their composure. It's a modern-day equivalent of Musashi stepping back to change his stance and disrupt his opponent's attack. Consider a high-pressure work presentation. Your heart is pounding, your mind is racing with fears of failure. This is your duel. Applying Musashi's principles, you would first acknowledge the fear without letting it define you. You would have prepared diligently, not just your slides, but your mindset. You'd practice deep, steady breathing to establish a calm internal rhythm. You would focus not on the outcome getting praised or criticized, but on the process of delivering your message clearly and confidently. You enter a state of hijishin, the ordinary mind, where you are simply doing the task at hand, fully present and unburdened by ego or fear. Your calmness becomes a source of authority, influencing the room far more than any perfectly memorized line could. The same applies to personal relationships. An argument with a partner can feel like a battleground. Instincts tell us to defend our position, to attack their weaknesses, to win the fight. Musashi teaches us a different way. Instead of focusing on winning, focus on understanding. Listen to your partner's rhythm, their words, their emotions. Maintain your own inner calm. When you feel the urge to lash out, pause. Observe the feeling. Choose a response that de-escalates rather than inflames. This isn't weakness. It is strategic control. It's the strength to steer the conflict toward resolution, not destruction. This state of profound calm is not a gift. It is a skill, forged through constant practice. Musashi's entire life was a form of training. He believed that the way of the warrior was a path of lifelong discipline. For us, this means integrating small practices into our daily lives. It could be 5 minutes of meditation each morning to observe our thoughts. It could be practicing mindful breathing while stuck in traffic. It could be deliberately choosing not to engage in pointless online arguments. Each small act is like a single sword strike in practice, building the muscle memory of composure. Over time, these practices accumulate, and the calm mind, hijoshin, ceases to be something you strive for and becomes your natural state. Musashi's final duel was not against a man, but against his own mortality. He spent his last months in a cave, calmly writing down the wisdom he had accumulated over a lifetime. He faced death with the same equanimity he faced his opponents. This is the ultimate expression of his philosophy, a calm that persists not just in the face of conflict, but in the face of life's greatest uncertainties. It's a peace that comes from mastering the self. The secret to staying calm in the midst of conflict is not to eliminate the conflict, but to master your inner world. It is to understand that true power is not the ability to defeat others, but the ability to not be defeated by oneself. By cultivating awareness, embracing uncertainty, and controlling our own rhythm, we can walk our own modern-day warrior's path. We can face our duels in the boardroom, at home, and within our own minds with the unshakable calm of a legendary swordsman. The principles are timeless, and the battlefield is everyday life. When the world around you descends into chaos, your mind must become the anchor. It is in the eye of the storm, not in the swirling winds, that true stability is found. Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary swordsman, understood this better than anyone. His life was a testament to the idea that victory in conflict is first won in the mind. One of his core principles was the concept of the void or emptiness. This isn't about having a blank mind, but rather a mind free from preconceptions, attachments, and emotional turmoil. Imagine you're in a heated argument at work. Your colleague is raising their voice, making accusations. The natural reaction is to get defensive, to feel your own anger rise. But Musashi would advise you to enter the void. This means detaching from the emotional sting of their words. You don't ignore them, but you observe their anger as a separate event, not as an attack on your core being. By doing this, your mind remains clear. You can see the real issue behind the emotion. Perhaps they feel unheard or are under pressure. This clear-headedness allows you to respond strategically, not just react impulsively. Instead of shouting back, you might say, "I understand you're frustrated. Let's focus on the problem itself." You've just disarmed the conflict by refusing to engage with its emotional chaos. Another key principle is observing the spirit of your opponent. Musashi believed you could perceive an opponent's intentions before they even acted. In modern terms, this is about developing acute emotional intelligence and situational awareness. Think about a difficult negotiation. Your counterpart might seem confident, but are their hands fidgeting? Is their smile a little too tight? Are they avoiding eye contact when discussing certain terms? These are subtle cues. Musashi would train himself to see these disturbances in his opponent's spirit. In your negotiation, this means looking beyond the words being said and understanding the underlying emotions and motivations. Perhaps their outward confidence is a mask for insecurity about their position. By perceiving this, you gain a significant advantage. You can tailor your approach to address their unspoken concerns, building trust and guiding the negotiation toward a more favorable outcome for you. You're no longer just battling over terms, you're navigating the human element of the conflict. Musashi also stressed the importance of knowing the smallest things and the biggest things. This means paying attention to both the fine details and the overall strategic landscape. In a conflict, it's easy to get bogged down in one minor point of contention and irritating email, a single comment. This is knowing the smallest things. But you must also step back and see the bigger picture. What is the ultimate goal here? Is winning this small battle worth jeopardizing the entire project or relationship? A family disagreement is a perfect example. You might be arguing about who was supposed to do a certain chore. That's the small thing. The big thing is maintaining a healthy, supportive family environment. By keeping the big thing in mind, you can approach the small thing with more grace and perspective. Maybe you just do the chore this time, not because you're admitting fault, but because preserving peace is the larger victory. Musashi would see this not as surrender, but as a strategic choice to win the more important war. This leads to his philosophy of no sword, or mutsu. For Musashi, the ultimate mastery was to win without ever drawing his sword. This is the art of de-escalation. It's about having such a powerful presence and calm demeanor that potential conflicts simply dissolve before they begin. Think of a manager who walks into a tense team meeting. If the manager is anxious and reactive, they will only fuel the tension. But if they enter with a calm, centered, and confident presence, that energy itself can pacify the room. Their composure signals that the situation is under control. People feel less need to be defensive or aggressive. This is winning without a fight. Your own inner state projects outward and shapes the reality of the situation. It's not about being passive. It's about being so internally strong that external conflict finds no purchase. Musashi also emphasized the principle of striking when the opponent's rhythm is collapsing. Every conflict, every argument has a rhythm, a back-and-forth cadence. People get into a groove of attacking and defending. Your goal is to disrupt that rhythm. Let's say you're in a debate and your opponent is on a roll. Listing point after point, instead of trying to counter each one, you wait. You let them talk. You listen intently. Their momentum will eventually falter. There will be a pause, a moment of uncertainty as they search for their next point. That is when you strike, not with aggression, but with a single, well-placed, insightful question or a calm, irrefutable fact. Because you waited, your point will have a much greater impact. It breaks their rhythm and shifts the entire dynamic of the conversation in your favor. You've used their own energy and momentum against them. Finally, Musashi taught the importance of a body like a rock and a mind like water. Your resolve, your principles, your goals, these should be immovable like a rock. You should not be easily swayed from your core purpose. However, your tactics, your approach, your mind, these must be like water. Water is formless, it adapts to any container. It can be gentle and flowing, or it can be a powerful crash. In a conflict, this means holding firm to your objective while being completely flexible in how you get there. If one approach isn't working, you don't stubbornly stick with it. You flow around the obstacle. If you're trying to convince your team to adopt a new strategy and you're meeting resistance, your rock is the belief that this strategy is best. Your mind, like water, tries different approaches. You present data. You share success stories. You run a small pilot program. You listen to their concerns and adapt your pitch. You are not rigid in your method, only in your destination. This adaptability makes you incredibly resilient and far more likely to succeed. The rock provides stability. The water provides the means. These principles are not just ancient wisdom for swordsmen. They are practical, psychological tools for navigating the complexities of modern life. By cultivating a mind that is empty of chaos, perceptive of others, aware of both detail and strategy, and as adaptable as water, you can achieve a state of profound calm. This calm is not weakness. It is the ultimate source of strength. It allows you to face any conflict, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a master of your own response. The battlefield has changed from the dueling grounds of feudal Japan to the boardroom, the dinner table, and the digital world. Yet the internal struggle remains the same. The path to victory is not found in a sharper sword, but in a calmer mind. Through this discipline, you can find a quiet strength that allows you to stand firm even as the world rages around you. The ability to remain centered is not just about winning arguments, it's about mastering yourself, and in that self-mastery lies true invincibility. It is a quiet confidence that emanates from within, a stillness that commands respect and dissolves hostility before it can even take root. This is the enduring legacy of Musashi's way of the sword, a path that leads not to violence, but to a profound and unshakable peace. The challenge, then, is to practice this awareness in every moment, turning every small conflict into a training ground for the mind. Each difficult conversation, each frustrating moment, becomes an opportunity to hone your inner calm. This is a lifelong practice, a constant returning to the center. It is in this continuous training that the true art is found. It's not about achieving a perfect state of permanent calm, but about the relentless daily practice of returning to it again and again. He believed that true mastery was not just about the sword, but about the mind that wields it. For Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary swordsman, the battlefield was a crucible that tested not only physical skill but, more importantly, mental fortitude. His teachings, encapsulated in the Book of Five Rings, are a masterclass in achieving a state of unshakable calm, a tranquility that allows for clarity and precision even when surrounded by chaos. This state, which he called Haijoshin, or the ordinary mind, is the foundation of his strategy. It's the ability to face life-or-death situations with the same composure you'd have while drinking tea. It isn't about suppressing fear or anger, but about observing these emotions without letting them take control. Musashi understood that an agitated mind is a vulnerable mind. When we are swayed by emotion, our perception is clouded, our reactions become predictable, and we expose ourselves to defeat. To cultivate this ordinary mind, Musashi practiced a form of radical presence. He taught that you must see what is right in front of you without the distortions of past regrets or future anxieties. In a duel, thinking about the opponent's reputation or the consequence of losing is a fatal distraction. The only thing that matters is the present moment. The opponent's posture, the glint of their blade, the rhythm of their breath. This principle extends far beyond the dojo. In a heated argument, are you truly listening to the other person, or are you busy formulating your rebuttal, replaying past grievances in your head? Musashi would advise to simply observe, listen, be present. By grounding yourself in the now, you detach from the emotional storm and gain the clarity to act effectively, not just react impulsively. One of his core tenets was to know the ways of all professions. This wasn't just intellectual curiosity. Musashi believed that by understanding different disciplines, carpentry, art, farming, you develop a more flexible and adaptable mind. Each craft has its own rhythm, its own set of problems and solutions. A carpenter learns patience and precision. A farmer learns to work with the seasons, understanding that some things cannot be rushed. By immersing himself in these varied perspectives, Musashi trained his mind to see the underlying principles that govern all things. This broad understanding prevents mental rigidity. When you face a conflict, you are not trapped in a single way of thinking. You can approach it like a carpenter finding the right joint, or a farmer waiting for the right time to plant a seed. This mental agility is a cornerstone of inner peace, as it allows you to adapt to any situation without being thrown off balance. Consider the principle of perceiving those things which cannot be seen. Musashi wasn't speaking of mystical powers. He was referring to intuition, the ability to sense the underlying dynamics of a situation. This is cultivated through relentless observation and practice. It's about recognizing the subtle cues that others miss: a flicker in an opponent's eye, a slight hesitation in their voice, the unspoken tension in a room. To develop this, Musashi would spend hours in silent observation, studying nature, people, and the flow of events. He learned to trust his gut, but this trust was earned through a deep analytical understanding of the world around him. In our modern lives, we are bombarded with so much information that we often ignore our own intuition. A practical exercise is to simply sit in a public place, like a cafe or a park, and just watch. Don't judge, don't analyze. Just observe the interactions, the body language, the unspoken stories. Over time, you will sharpen your ability to perceive the undercurrents of any situation, giving you a strategic advantage and a sense of calm control. Musashi also stressed the importance of not having a favorite weapon. While he was a master of the two-sword style, he could fight with anything: a short sword, a wooden staff, even a fan. This wasn't about being a weapons expert. It was a metaphor for mental flexibility. If you become too attached to one tool, one strategy, or one way of thinking, you become predictable and vulnerable. When that favorite tool is unavailable, you are lost. In a modern context, this could be your reliance on a specific debating tactic, a particular way of managing your team, or a single approach to solving problems. Musashi challenges us to become versatile. What happens when your usual method doesn't work? Do you panic, or do you adapt? To practice this, consciously try new approaches to familiar tasks. If you always lead meetings in a certain way, try a different format. If you always handle disagreements by being direct, try listening more first. By expanding your toolkit, you build a resilient mind that isn't dependent on a single fragile strategy. The concept of void or emptiness coup is central to Musashi's philosophy, yet it's often misunderstood. It is not a state of nothingness, but a state of pure potential, free from preconceived notions and attachments. Musashi wrote, "With your spirit settled, accumulate practice day by day and hour by hour. Polish the twofold spirit, heart, and mind, and sharpen the twofold gaze, perception, and sight. This is the path to the void." It's about clearing your mind of clutter so that you can see things as they truly are. Think of your mind as a mirror. If it's covered in the dust of bias, ego, and fear, it reflects a distorted image of reality. The practice of emptying the mind is about cleaning that mirror. Meditation is a direct path to this, but so is any activity that requires total focus, like painting, playing an instrument, or even washing dishes. The goal is to quiet the internal monologue, to let go of the need to label and judge everything. In this state of mental quiet, wisdom and effective action can arise naturally without effort. Another powerful lesson is to keep your spirit down. This doesn't mean to be depressed or passive. It means to be grounded, stable, and centered. An agitated spirit, like a flame flickering in the wind, is easily extinguished. A grounded spirit is like a mountain unmoved by the storms raging around it. Musashi achieved this through rigorous physical and mental discipline. His daily routine was a ritual of practice and reflection. He didn't allow his energy to be scattered by trivialities. In our world of constant notifications and distractions, this is more challenging than ever. A practical way to apply this is to consciously manage your energy. Identify the things that agitate your spirit: pointless arguments on social media, obsessive news consumption, toxic relationships, and minimize your exposure to them. Instead, cultivate activities that ground you, whether it's a walk in nature, a consistent morning routine, or deep, focused work. A centered spirit is a calm spirit, capable of weathering any conflict. Finally, Musashi's path was one of solitude and self-reliance. He spent years wandering the countryside, honing his skills and his philosophy alone. This wasn't an escape from the world, but a deep dive into himself. He understood that true strength and calm cannot be given to you by others. They must be forged within. In the quiet of solitude, you are forced to confront your own thoughts, fears, and weaknesses without distraction. It's in this space that you can truly understand yourself and build an unshakable inner foundation. You don't need to become a hermit to practice this. Simply scheduling regular time to be alone with your thoughts, without your phone or other distractions, can be transformative. Use this time for reflection. Ask yourself, what is disturbing my peace? What are my attachments? What am I afraid of? By facing these questions honestly, you begin the process of internal purification. This is the ultimate secret of Musashi's calm. It was not a technique he applied, but a state of being he embodied, forged in the fires of discipline, presence, and a profound understanding of his own mind.